Yes, on this computer. So it's going. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Eliza. This is Julie. And we're just going to have a little chat like we do every now and then. I hope every single one of you who is watching is doing well. And if you are interested in the shift in energy, this is what we're going to talk about. Whether we want, whether we know anything or not, we're going to talk about it anyway. So how did you, Julie, started feeling that energy? Because yesterday was
I,
different, today is different.
it's hard to chop things up. That's part of the new energy, I think. To say when something stopped or started or the different components, I'm having a little trouble expressing, but it feels good that I'm having a little trouble. Like I'm
Uh-huh.
having trouble chopping things up because
Uh-huh.
the whole is so present.
Yeah.
But whenever it seems like a new energy comes online and then I get reflections of it all around me, like in you're saying there's definitely something new. It's like there's a
Uh-huh.
drop down through the nonsense, through what I've been believing in and using as a religion, standards, control, the idea of the separate. It's just, it dissolves. It really does. You pay attention to letting it go. You make that the most important thing, and you get, it's like you get these drops down where it's, oh my gosh, those limits aren't present anymore. In my mind, it's easier. It feels so joyful.
Mm, definitely. Yesterday I was thinking about, okay, what we're going to talk about. And the first thought that came was the new energies. Because the last few weeks, it feels totally different. Yesterday was a little bit challenging for many, many, many people. And I'm not going to lie, I felt myself like, what the heck is going on? I've got to be more present. I've got to be more present. And I've done a lot of work on myself, but I would not call it any longer a work. I just was more present with myself. And since I was blessed with day of work, I decided I'm gonna turn back a little bit more. I'm gonna come back home a little bit more. And in Scotland, it's not that often that it's sunny, and it snowed through the night, and it doesn't snow too often. So it was
Hmm.
sunny, the snow was everywhere, and it just looked like a heavenly realm. It just looked, if you opened the door, you could hear angels sing. It was just so beautiful
Oh,
all day long. I went for a walk, but this morning I didn't spend much time on my phone. But the energies I felt today, I sat down and I started thinking, what is it? I know it. I can taste it. I definitely felt it before. What is it? And then I'm thinking backwards, and it feels exactly like I would be in the summer back in Poland 25 years ago. Totally
hmm.
chill out. Just, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. I'm happy. If something is going into pieces, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah,
Everything
that's
is okay.
yeah.
Everything is mellow, everything is gratitude, everything is amazing. There is always time for everything. There is always time to stop and pause and hug a tree. So this is what my day today was like. And I just couldn't believe it. It feels like 25 years ago, before the phones, before
Yes.
the high speed Wi-Fi, when you're constantly the stiffness here and constantly. So it felt beautiful and amazing. And just like you said, I don't take all of that for granted. You said about, oh, there will be low or something. That's okay. I think what I'm learning as well with these shifts of energy, Julie, and how, for example, others express it like you, because you always go back here. You know,
Mhm.
that's why I love our chats, because you never go to, okay, it's her fault, it's his fault, and they are idiots. You always are there. Okay, how am I perceiving? How my perception here is, bended, or it doesn't work for me any longer. And that's what I love about you. And with these energies, it's, you can call it roller coaster, or you can call it amazing adventure.
Mhm.
And it's not
Mhm.
always easy to have a smile on your face when that's happening, and that's okay as well. That's okay as well.
It does feel like being a child again. And my touchstone for what I think God is or peace is me as a child being maybe 4 years old out in the wildflowers, just hardly any concepts. And it does feel like that. And just like you said, if something appears to be going wrong, we don't take it so hard, and it's okay if something goes wrong, and we know that's just a definition.
Yeah.
And it's just so freeing to drop down out of that rigidity. It's funny that I'm saying down, not burst up. It's like we've always had this foundation. You know, I feel like I'm on my true foundation. And that's just a taste, I think. It's just a taste we're getting. And we feel like, oh, I'm home.
Yeah, and it feels amazing, you know. And the thing is that energy, for me, it feels like it is there to be taken and used. Because if I'm going to be still going mind driven, entirely ego fear driven in the survival mode, I'm going to miss it. Maybe I will notice for 2 seconds per week or per day, but I'm going to miss it. But that energy allows you to stop, slow down, take it in, and, you know, embed it. That's why when you say it's going to come more and more of it, that's what resonates with me, because I choose to go with that energy and go within. And don't get me wrong, it's not easy, you know. When I'm in survival, you know. I feel like what's going on, I keep on looking at my phone, or I keep on thinking, okay, what have I done wrong, or whatever, or I'm doubting myself. I'm really doubting myself. And you know, and I'm learning that that's okay as well, you know. That's okay as well. These energies are so okay. When I was doing a walk on the beach on Christmas Day, I've got strong message that Heavenly Mother, you know, the mother energy, that it is for all of us here in all shapes and forms, that she can be used so much more than so far, because usually we would pray Heavenly Father or something like that, but there is this other side of energy that steps in, that it's, you can call feminine, or you can just call it more carrying, less trying to make something happen, less in control, more with the flow. When you, so let's say you're going in the flow and you have all these labels in the front of you that they would block your flow, so you take these labels off and you flow more easily. Instead of good and bad, I want this side but I don't want that side, you know. I want only smile, I never want to cry. So I've got this message about the more Heavenly Mother as a understanding of being more in the flow, and allow myself be loved and nurtured into peace and ease in this present moment. So this is what I've been getting. It's funny because the things you are getting, they're so woven in between with the stuff that I'm getting.
And the Heavenly Mother idea is so soft, and that's a softness that we can relax into right now. Is always here for all of us right now. And we learn how to trust that. It's just like you get to ride along on a little cushion and you get to stop trying. It's just, it makes me giggle. How could it be this easy? Because we are loved, and we are love. And I still have moments, of course we all do, where the dysfunction is exposed. Another layer of it is exposed. That's a celebration too. You know, if we're feeling terrible, good, because I want it exposed so it can be washed away, and so I can have this appreciation for the unspeakable. It's just so beautiful, but so present.
Definitely, I like it, because for me, I'm one of these. Back in the day, it would be all black and white for me. And nearly every single situation, especially the one that I would assume that happened or it will happen, assume so much, you know, like living by so much of the delusion of the mind. And everything would be end of the world, literally. Something happened, end of the world straight away, you know. These days, the end of the world, it's okay. It's okay. It doesn't seem like the end of the world is actually the end of the world.
No, that's what we're going for. That's good. I mean, so it's not misinterpreted. The end of the world in the sense of we allow the illusion of strife to transform into the illusion of harmony,
Yeah.
And then we realize how silly, I don't need an illusion. And then we let the illusion go.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. What you've been up to, what you've been doing or reading, what you've been diving into recently.
I always read A Course in Miracles.
Oh, yeah.
Consistently for such a long time. So that's been my thing. Just playing in the snow with my kids and doing the usual, the ordinary, holiday stuff. But it's just always such an opportunity to sink in, enjoy, be, and also allow, because there's this engine of anxiety isn't gone. All these standards and structures and assumptions, they aren't gone, but we've let enough of them go to be so joyful about what else we can let go of. So, just being in the opportunity there with a family and allowing all the ideas of roles to go, of obligation to go. It's so beautiful how you can allow spirit to structure your day. Like, I usually have the idea of an obligation to be with my father at lunchtime when my sister's working, and I have this idea of amount of time. But today I realized, oh, it looks like it's going to be a short visit, and there is no guilt. There is just a sense of freedom, like, oh, it doesn't have to be a long visit, and and I don't have to chain myself to repetitive enactments just so I can get a sense of worth, and just so I can get an identity, or like the sticker that says I helped somebody in the correct manner. It just wasn't there. And to wake up to things not being there is the most beautiful thing in the world. We think we want things, wealth or beauty or stuff coming at us, but waking up with things absent, no, there's no greater gift than that.
Yeah, the lightness is amazing. And you mentioned allowing things, and my nature is resistance. My nature is forcing, is resistance. This is what I've been conditioned into. Allowing is the last thing that I want to do. Allowing, what is it? In which language are you speaking?
How do I do allowing? How do I do it right?
So
how do I check myself for doing it wrong?
So for me, allowing was always something that I would do only if I had my back against the wall. If I would be in a really extremely emotional, painful situation, and I just wouldn't see, I way out of that pain. So shift of perception. Okay, it's now time to surrender and allow. And you are so crazy about Course in Miracles, and there's a book that I'm crazy about, and I cannot stop. I finished. This is like 4th or 5th time this year, and it was last year. I finished. I put it on the side. Okay, it's finally time for a different book, and I took a different book. I read the first page. Yeah, that feels so nice and fresh, right? Second page, it doesn't feel right. 2-3 days later, I'm back to the same book. I know.
We got our thing, right? We got our thing. It's good.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like Linus's blanket, it's there till we wake up without it, and that's fine too.
Exactly. And it's amazing, as well, to know what I like. I know what works for me, know what doesn't work for me. And you mentioned as well, like anxiety or something, that it isn't there any longer. And I remember my spiritual mentor told me a few years ago, she told me, Eliza, it isn't that stuff is not there anymore. You just learn to treat it in a totally different way. It's in a different packaging, or it is the same packaging, but you look at it in a totally new way, and you learn to treat it in a totally new way. And these energies that we have right now are just so amazing. But the funny part is that I think the last time we were chatting was the middle of November or beginning of November.
No, it was somewhere in the past.
It's like, what? And it felt so different. And after that, everything felt just so different. I felt like I actually made few videos about it because I felt like this experience is out of this world, because I felt like all identity was stripped down. No more people pleasing, Eliza. No more feeding anyone's codependence. You've got to stop this. You've got to cut the cord for yourself with this and that. Everything all of a sudden was so clear. And the only thing left to do was for me to take action, which is totally opposite from what I've been doing. Because all I've been doing, every day post, every day a video, every day this. And then it was all of a sudden, nope.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, and I was as well guided because I'm very sensitive with what I put into my system and how am I reacting emotionally to anything that it is assigned to different types of food. So if I'm eating meat, I'm not gonna feel too good. If I'm eating stuff like that, not there is anything wrong with it, but just my body is wired right now in a different way. So I felt inspired, like seriously pushed and inspired to go fruitarian. And I went fruitarian. Like, it's hard to be fruitarian in Scotland in winter. It's not that fascinating, but I needed to go through a shift and change, and I believe we all have in our heart that kind of thing. I think where I'm gonna use the word wrong, okay? Or maybe miss, or maybe a miss instead of a hit, is when we believe that one advice and one path is for everyone or majority, and that's the way. And that couldn't be more farther from what my heart tells me. My heart tells me that for Julie is Julie's path, for Eliza is Eliza's path, through her own tools and ways and beings. And for Robert is different path and all that stuff. Yeah. I don't know why, but I felt called to say that. I don't know why. Maybe someone needs to hear it.
No, I like that. I like where it's taking me because it looks different, but the function's the same. Because each personality has its little rigidities and patterns and routines. And when we feel inspired, that kind of washes us out of those and helps wash away resistance. And nobody else is capable of judging us. They just can't know. and we're not capable of judging ourselves, even as a separate being, right or wrong. We can just know what feels inspiring and what doesn't. And at the end of the day, it's so simple. We can't judge the things. We have no capability of doing that. We can pretend all day long that we're capable of doing it, but we'll never be happy about that. So, but we can know what feels inspiring and what doesn't. So thank goodness it is simple.
Definitely. That sounds good. I wonder if do you remember that fan that it was commenting on your videos a lot and your posts? Yeah, so I wonder how the story goes with that.
I don't know, because what did I do? I ended up unfriending, right?
Yeah.
So is that door closed? I don't know how that works technologically speaking. I don't know.
So that person never returned.
No, I don't think so.
So the message was pretty clear. Bye-bye.
Yeah, but I'm also hearing like, well, you meet that one in everyone. So the idea, like, if a body doesn't return, it's like some Jesus stuff here. It's like you meet that one in everyone.
Yeah.
And
I'm sorry to interrupt. Let's feel, maybe anyone who is watching, let's maybe fill them up with what happened, because I remember you were sharing that person was commenting on your every post.
Every post that was a spiritual message that I was sharing. And so my little tale of woe would be like this. Like, I finally got brave enough to share this stuff on my personal page.
Okay.
And I still wasn't 100% sure, like, am I supposed to be doing this? I felt the nudge from spirit to do it, right? But I wasn't 100% sure. And so that was probably a reflection of that. And so as soon as I started doing it, this person who I thought was on my side, that's such a loaded perception, right? Spiritually speaking, in terms of the concepts that we would believe, but what I'm hearing to is cling to, they could be limits, would come in and laugh. And how I was interpreting what was being said was, you've got it all wrong. Wake up, you've got it all wrong. So
So
I
I actually open these messages. I'm sorry, Julie, for interrupt again, but when I open these messages, because few times I commented on your videos with my gratitude for the message that you were posting.
And you would get a comment.
I would, yeah. So your message would really touch me straight to my heart, into my core in a beautiful way. So I would put a comment over there. And then I have a notification and the person you mentioned, and I look at the comment and I'm straight away like, what? What? I was like, oh. And then I look at this person, other comments, and nearly every comment like that on everything that you've posted, literally just a pile of poo, everything on there, you know. And I'm like, I prefer flowers. I really prefer flowers. I don't like poo. That's why I have toilet. You know,
Binary. You know, you got your flowers, you got your poo. But the poo
you
grows the
know,
flower.
so you described in such a graceful way, you know, that person is commenting, maybe not nice. And when I looked at it, I would call that different way. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is that I was shocked. And I remember on one of the videos I shared with you that, listen, because I chose to not deal with that, at least for this part of my journey. I just simply block these people. I remove them and I block them, you know, so it's like full force, you know. No coming back.
For a while I explored it, like, how is this one triggering me and what's being exposed and what could be washed away. But I did that for a long time, and then it started feeling like a stale routine, like this is how I handle this person. And I just wasn't feeling any freshness there anymore. Like, okay, they're serving me, I know every being I meet is always serving me, but something about this feels stale and repetitive and uninspired. And at that point, I just didn't perceive any other pathway out. Usually these things just kind of leave my experience and I don't have to do anything, right? But I really did. One day it just came through so strongly, just unfriend. And I realized I was attaching such a negative meaning to unfriend that, well, the directive is there. Just follow it. It's okay.
It was clear this person never came back.
Yeah.
Yeah. The same it is with few people that I had, but yeah, it's like, I don't know, we choose our own experience, and you said, oh, but that could mean everything and anything. But there is I like how you said it, that one day it just came with a flow. You weren't sitting there baffled for 15 hours, you know, sweating your armpits, you know, which way do I go? Do I unfriend or unfriend? Am I gonna sleep at night? No, it just came to you with a flow. And this way what works for me as well.
Yeah, that's how it felt possible to do, because it came through, and as far as I knew, it didn't come from resistance. It was just like, oh my goodness, this is an option.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know as well, I feel compelled, I feel guided to ask you this question, because I know how much the people who are gonna watch this are gonna benefit from it. You have a very beautiful, straightforward connection with your, let's call it, guidance, with your divine team or intuition or friends, whichever way you want to call it. You have that beautiful, straightforward guidance that help you be at peace, that help you enjoy your life and be there for others as well, and for yourself and for your family. Would you like to share maybe a few bits? How did you got there, or what kind of tips you would give to anyone who is trying to learn how to, for themselves, find that guidance with their own team, with their own intuition?
I'm closing my eyes to go in and be supplied with the words to describe it, because everything can come from guidance. Every gesture, every word, every thought, every action, because there really is only one of us. And when I'm referring to the personality and all its ideas of limits and fears to direct this experience, I don't feel good. I realize that very consistently, and I realize very consistently I want to feel good. So thank goodness it's simple. So my journey will look a certain way, and it'll be the same journey. It'll just, the bells and whistles will look different than somebody else's, but it's the same journey. So it really started when I was 17. I really felt like I needed to read Krishnamurti a lot. You never know why you need to do things, you just do. And so I did. And at various times over the years, I feel like I needed to read somebody a lot. Nisargadatta Maharaj, I had these little phases, and I didn't really think I was a spiritual seeker or anything. I just had to do it. I didn't even talk about it. I just did it a lot in the background. But once I had my first child, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. I realized love is not love. Like ego's definition of love, one person to another, is not love. Because I realized in motherhood, new motherhood, I accessed such deep rage at the helplessness I felt, and at the sense of responsibility I felt, and at the anger about that. And at the same time, there's this great love for the child. But the hatred that was revealed, which is a hatred for this personality and all other personalities are just a hatred network, pretty much. And that got uncovered by the beautiful arrival of my beautiful baby, because they have a great way of peeling back and uncovering all the ugliness that can be flushed up and washed away. So I realized I couldn't have put it in those words back then. I just knew something is not right with this love thing. Like, I know I feel deep love, but I know I also feel deeply disturbed. And something's got to go. So thank goodness life put in my path the work of Byron Katie, a self-inquiry method. And I did that for, I would say, maybe 3 or 4 years. Just every day I needed to do that just as much as I needed to read the other stuff before. I just really needed to. So I did. Every day I would look at what I was thinking and believing versus what would be present when that was washed away. And I at least got to spend this little bit of time in the presence. I don't even know what I was spending time in, because she does such a beautiful job of not defining anything or describing anything. She just takes you through this process of self-inquiry that helps you shed the lies that you keep believing. And so beautiful. And that led to a spiritual awakening experience where the result was a voice that seemed to represent a whole bunch of friends, in the non-physical, like a whole bunch of lights or a whole bunch of flowers or something that my childlike mind could accept and trust. I didn't even want them to be people, really. I don't trust people. I just, if we're coming from this self-hatred that's largely covered over, we don't acknowledge our self, meaning hatred of all the personality selves, my personality self included. We don't acknowledge how much that powers effort and stress, but that's what's at the root of it. So I was able to hear this as a voice that would speak to me, whereas that wasn't clear to me before, not a voice I could speak to at any time. I was also able to realize that this voice was going to take over, and that was completely fine with me, that it was my voice and everybody's voice, and that's completely fine. And it was my job to allow the voice to take over as me, and to allow myself to hear it speaking back to me from every being. So that seemed like quite a tall order. Then moving on in life, it was about 5 years later, I became pregnant with twins. And as serious as I thought I had been on this journey, that was a real oh holy shit moment. Like help me. Oh my gosh. I've got whatever this is. I have to get serious about this, because holy shit. So that's when I really got deeply focused on A Course in Miracles. Like, I really felt like the focus has to be more intense or I'm not going to make it through this.
Yeah.
And because having twins was a fear of mine. because I had had 2 kids previously, and the fear that was present every time was, oh, I hope it's not twins. So
Bam, twins.
it was divine trigger, like, now it's time to focus, lady. And it was funny because when I asked them later, like, why did I have twins? The answer I got was, you are remedial. Like, you are a remedial student. Like, you need 2 teachers, 2 more teachers.
Oh, that's why. Wow.
I love how humbling that answer is, because it's not humbling in a bad way. It's like brings us into our equality. You know,
Wow.
you needed help, and that was the most appropriate help for you. And I can see that and appreciate that now. You know.
Yeah, your journey. I don't see you any longer. Just your name. I don't know why.
Let me check. Let me minimize for a second and check my battery's okay. I think I'm okay.
Okie dokie. It's similar thing that happen. Very similar. Well, I don't have kids, but it's bits of your story similar to mine. That's so intriguing. And you know what's the funny thing? I don't know if I will ever have kids, and I'm not in a position that I feel like I have to. You know, give me some sperm. I need to have kids. You know, no.
Yeah. I never planned to. I get that completely.
I'm okay. I'm totally okay and fine as things are. But if that would be an option in the future that me and my partner or whatever would be into, I would really love to experience twins, right? Whether it is a pregnancy or adoption, whatever, it doesn't matter. And you're saying so much like, no. And I started thinking to myself, like, Eliza, what is it that you're asking for? I've already, I saw a vision of twins, even this year, I saw a vision of twins. So it is something there. But it's funny things you mentioned when you were 17, because similar thing happened to me. I had quite profound spiritual experiences when I was 17, especially when I went to bed and I would be reading Brian Tracy, and it would be like a relaxing meditation to hypnotize yourself, like your entire body, one leg, another leg, arm, your torso, your everything, and then do like a rehearsal of what you wanted to happen tomorrow.
Oh.
And you know what? Believe it or not, everything happened the same way. But for some reason, it just felt so pushed and forced, like these people would have no choice to say these things. And it didn't feel right, so I panicked. But the spiritual experiences that I'm talking about, that they were for me today, I know that they were awakenings, was the knowing. And as well, I knew it. I'm going at nighttime, I'm closing my eyes, and I see stars, and I see myself flying somewhere very fast, like out of my body experiences. And of course, I had no one to talk about it. It was something like, oh my God, no internet back in the day, so that I was not living in the open-minded world that would encourage me to talk about it in any way, open up or ask for help or guidance, whatever. And I remember myself, like even in the summer, being in the countryside, lying in the middle of the road. My cousin would be next to the tree, and I would see a vision that car is approaching very silently, and I have to move right now, because if not, in a few minutes time, this car is gonna approach and it's gonna hit me and it's not gonna see me. And I just jumped out, moved out of the street. 2 minutes later, the same car that I saw approached, and I was, shocked. Maybe a year later, I would be carrying this deep feeling, this and this is gonna happen, stuff like that. But then, of course, it came parties, drinking, smoking, sex, boys, parties, discovering things, adventures, and all of that went on the side. But the funny thing is that the farther away I was from it, the more destructive I was. And you said something's got to give, because you mentioned the disturbance. I was so destructive towards myself and others. And it came a moment that I had to surrender. If not, all beats were off. I just had to surrender and ask for help. And that's when things started changing for me nearly 6 years ago, and I started learning more and more and more and more. And just like you, daily work. Daily work. We no longer call it work because it's our life, it's our heart, it's our passion. At the beginning, it looks maybe like a work, but when you love something so much and gives you so much joy and so much peace, because you read 2 pages and you feel like it just feels, butterfly inside. You cannot call that work any longer. You're just doing your thing. I love how you described it, that inner connection. Yeah, because for me it was a lot through cleansing myself out of resentments, blaming others for how I think and feel, just shifting my whole perception on life, taking ownership of my own crap instead of blaming my parents all the time and others. And just lots of prayers. For me, it was a lot about prayer, but not the religious prayer, like a spiritual prayer to that higher power that I just placed my life in the hands of that power. And that conception kept on changing. But the prayer, spiritual reading and meditation, daily bread. It just, and it still is. It still is till now. Wow.
I'm not afraid of the word prayer anymore.
That's awesome.
Afraid of the word prayer because I grew up looking around me and thinking it was people begging for something when they didn't need to beg. I thought, the young little me probably thought, why do you think you're so bad? So, but I was developing my own sense of thinking I was bad at the time too. But, and so I always had this resistance to what people called prayer. But it very recently, in fact, I'm able to say that word and feel like I know what it means. And it's just a flow. It's just a tuning in. It's just a partaking of what is here for everybody right now. It's beautiful. And it's to have that resistance fall away. That is the happiest thing in the world, to have our resistance fall away.
Yeah. I don't know how is that for you. I'm really looking forward to your answer. But for me, that resistance keeps on coming back. The ego grows back like a bad tumor. It just keeps coming back like a boomerang. It's unbelievable. As soon there is a point and moment and I feel like, wow, I've done really well, the ego creeps in and comes back. Because the message that I keep on getting, which is really beautiful, is Father does it the work, but it's just a phrase letting me know that power flows through me, and that's the most beautiful thing. Yet the ego finds its way to cling into, I've done so well.
Yeah. Who's done so well? The one who's good enough right now,
It's so funny. I cannot hear you for some reason. You are unmuted. I don't know why. And it's frozen. Maybe it's my Wi-Fi. Oh, now I can hear you.
Okay, do you hear me?
It's a little bit unstable as well, but now I can hear you.
Okay.
You're disappearing a little bit and my screen is freezing.
This is perfect because in the world, I would tell my husband, we really need to get that new router. But symbolically speaking, I was just about to say how we choose between 2 things. And first we go through life mainly making the ego choices. Then we realize, I have a choice. So we're choosing for spirit, but it's like spirit, ego, spirit, ego, 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 spirit, ego, spirit, ego, spirit, ego, spirit, ego times 100. So that's what we're in now, right? We have 2 choices. But now what we're flowing, when we say there are new energies, flickering in and out, right? Ego, spirit. Now we're realizing I can choose spirit all the time. And I just chose it. And I'm so safe doing that. So now we're like spirit, ego, because we'll hit some root that we didn't know was there.
Okay.
Yeah, some root of hatred and rage that we were too afraid to allow to be exposed before. And that's when we feel like, what the hell just happened? But that's a celebration because we've gone down and we're maybe I should try to bring the video back. We're not bodies.
Your face keeps on disappearing.
I know. Maybe I'll just take this as the cue to say we're not bodies. And
I'm more than just this body.
Right, from the body, that we make that choice for spirit more, because we know spirit is ever present and we can just consult it and say, tell me what to think.
Yeah.
Tell me what to do. What we say and do comes from what we think, and just let it flow. And so we make the only choice that brings happiness, and we recognize that's the only choice that brings happiness, and we're more aware moment to moment that's the only choice. So I think that's what we're going through now. You know, we're making the two choices, and we're switching over into the one choice.
Yeah. And you know, I like how you describe it, because you don't describe it like firmly good and bad, because it's no longer about that. It is literally a choice. It is literally, I remember asking my divine guidance quite seriously within the last few months, what did I came here to do? What is my path? Tell me, I need to be, I don't know, reassured, because I felt like, okay, everything changed. I need some kind of new guidance, or hear the same message again. And the answer would come straightforward, very like a gentle sound in a huge big silence, saying, you came here to experience it all of it, everything. And I'm like, whoa, that's a lot. But then another thought came, and it doesn't matter from which place it came, but another thought came, okay, I've experienced 90% of my life so far, I spent in really huge pain, lots and lots of internal pain. Okay, so now it's time to have fun, a little bit more nicer and harmonized fun instead of the destructive fun. So that was very uplifting. I like your message, Julie. It's a shame I cannot see you any longer. So maybe that's a little sign that we will finish with this recording, and we will everyone with what we've recorded so far, unless you feel there is something else you would like to adapt or say.
Well, I'll just add, I've been every once in a while hitting the start video button and it doesn't start. And so I'm listening to what you're saying and resonating, and also looking at this nothingness, you know, just this black with the word Julie. And then I see, okay, we're afraid of the nothingness. And ego would tell us, if you turn away from me, there's nothing. And ego's right. There is no particular and separate thing when we turn away from it. But what we don't realize when we're busy listening to ego and being afraid of the nothingness is that that's really joyful. To not define any separate thing, and to be carried along through what look like all these separate things, and to be told what to do and say in every moment, and to just be provided with any resources you need, not through your own effort or worthiness, because you're not separate. There's no separate effort or worthiness, not really. And so turn away from ego is to give up the ability to distinguish and judge all the separate things. So, you know, look at that nothingness. We see that everything we made in this world is nothing. It's an illusion, not real. But that's our joy. And I think that's where we're just on the cusp of appreciating that. And that means letting go of fear. As ego says, if you let go of all these entertaining everythings, you're nothing. And we believe that. But the only real thing is not of time or space. It's not what you see with physical eyes. But the joy you feel, that is real. That's real. That's as real as it gets.
I agree with you so much. You know, there is a specific type of meditation that I do quite often from Dr. Joe Dispenza, and it is a lot over there about becoming no one, letting go of your all identity, of your analytical mind, and going into that nothingness. And it was so scary at the beginning. The first few months, it was so scary, until you're literally in that darkness, which it isn't like the bad darkness, it's just you cannot see anything, it's nothingness. Let yourself go, like you would be falling from a tall building. And then on the other side, there is this massive burst of joy and freedom, liberation, pure bliss, love, light, nothing else. It's just like entirely out of this world, Julie. And that's why I understand every word you're saying. Thank you. Okay, my dear, we're going to say bye-bye to everyone who's watching. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. And I'm gonna link as a description of this video, I'm going to link Julie's channel on YouTube and her Facebook as well. She is posting a beautiful messages that they are flowing from her through her, and they are really, really valuable. So I'm going to attach her link over here. Thank you everyone for watching and being here. I appreciate you very much, and we will see each other sometime soon.
Love to everybody. Thank you.